I'm originally from Texas. I connected with our sisters in San Antonio.
I met our sisters when I was growing up in Denver, Colorado. I was in an elementary school, St. Dominic's, a parish school where our sisters taught for many years. They were my teachers from 3rd grade to 8th grade.
I was born and raised in Chicago, and when I started 1st grade, our family moved into a parish, and it was the Dominican Sisters of Sinsinawa, and their beautiful white habits, and the big old veil, and the whole deal. And the sisters had a certain type of joy, being together and working hard. I mean, can you imagine one adult with 50 kids in a classroom? I thought, man, that's cool. I would like to do that.
It was the sisters' love in the Dominican life and Father Samuel who really drew me. They were all different. And yet, when they came together and prayed together, they were one collective, faithful group of women.
I can remember, even as early as 4th grade, thinking about becoming a sister. The combination of scholarship and faith, or contemplation and action that I witnessed in the sisters, I just knew that I wanted to be part of that.
Women were laughing, and they were smart, and they were funny, and they were committed, and I thought, this is not a bad way to go through life. I entered after Vatican II, so I never lived under what you would call the pre-Vatican world of religious life. Sisters were wearing their own clothing, or they were wearing versions of a modern habit. Many of them had changed their names.
The impetus started with Vatican II, and then I think it just kind of kept unfolding. I think there was a wholehearted embrace of what was coming from the Vatican Council, looking at the signs of the times and the needs of the world. What is this calling us to? How do we have the church be relevant to people in a new age and a new time? Knowing what Father Samuel was like, knowing what the first sisters were like, looking at their efforts to respond to needs that were evident in their time was an encouragement to try to look to see what needed to be done. Some people who had been teaching for a number of years thought that they could serve well as a medical doctor. Back to medical school at an age where you were maybe 10 years older than everybody else in the classroom. If you thought you could serve a poor population by being a lawyer, you went back to school.
Part of our call as Sinsinawa Dominicans is to go through life with a Bible in one hand and a newspaper in the other, from a perspective that sees Christ in everyone that we meet.
We're able to be with the people. Our natural instinct to respond to needs and to go where the need is and do what needs to be done.
In the Sisters' Constitution, they have this phrase, at the heart of ministry is relationship. I think what the sisters have taught us with their lives is there's no real distinction between the life of the congregation and the life of the world. The congregation is in the world and always has been. And we are all contributing to its flourishing or its decline.
It's why we watch the news. You'll see Dominicans will read the papers. We pay attention to the news, because how can you preach something if you don't know what is going on? And how does it apply to Scripture? With catastrophes, with the divisions, we have to be avid learners. And that goes, part of our ministry has moved in more into social justice.
When I finished classroom teaching, I was doing parish social services in Washington, D.C. People were getting evicted from their homes. So it was like, that must really feel awful getting thrown out of your house. And those were the days when the cups and the saucers and the beds and the mattresses were on the sidewalk when I'm walking to work. And I thought, what I need to know is the law. So I got myself into law school. Growing up on the south side of Chicago, I was a fighter, so I'll take them on. We are in a position to do that. We don't have a spouse and kids that other people might have to be more concerned than we are. I feel that's part of our call to risk.
I've been very involved in a group of our sisters that has gone to the border every year with the newly arrived asylum seekers, learning about immigration firsthand from the people who are experiencing it.
welcoming at the center, helping people translate for whatever it is they might need, provide food, clothing, serving people, and it's an ongoing need. To come into another country in a situation where they had to escape and to be safe, to be welcomed, especially after a journey that no one would ever want to take.
Giving people that sense of belonging, which is sort of like that love one another and take care of each other stuff, that Jesus talks about. So I was able to go down there and do legal work. Some people get really vexed that I'm not in a habit and that I'm not the way they think I should be. Like, you should be in the chapel on your knees praying instead of out banging on the doors, marching for immigrant rights.
Bold and brave, the Dominican tradition of risk-taking, peacemaking, and service can be seen around all the world. The United States, Europe, Bolivia, and Trinidad and Tobago.
We have sisters in Trinidad and Tobago. That's the last island of the Caribbean. We opened up a house of discernment there. Many of our sisters have gone there and got to experience their culture. We've gotten to learn about the steel pan and the music. Another opportunity to see how we not only impact another part of the world, but how it impacts us. They have touched many people's lives, and they worked with other congregations. It was very much collaborative. It opens up new lenses. It's broadened us. It's the same thing as when our sisters went to Bolivia.
In Bolivia, I ministered among an indigenous population called the Guarani and lived in a very small village of about 100 homes. I was part of a group that joined with Bolivians and Guarani to build homes for each of the families. I came to learn an understanding of sisterhood, of mission that expanded into a huge worldview. And the sisters, the Bolivian team, were deeply loved by the Guarani people. Whatever they had, they offered us. And that's what I learned in Bolivia, is just that whatever you have, inside or out, is for the service of God's people.